It's over, Megatron. I have the high ground.
You underestimate my power, Prime. Ah, pew!
Oh, no. Oh, no. No.
Juvie Ricky to prove it. He's a criminal.
No!
Criminals are hot.
You're too late, Ravage. The information's already been destroyed.
I love the Transformers. I grew up with them. I'm talking G1, Animated, Armada, kind of. I've even started reading the IDW comics. They're pretty good. Maybe check them out if you want to, you know, have a good Transformers story. Sure, it was a concept made to sell toys, but I think you can tell that the writers for most of these shows and comics really did care about the stories that they were trying to tell. It's a silly concept, but I do think you can tell a good story with it. How's it going, gang? I'm Matt Henderson, and I decided to go back and watch all of the live-action Transformers movies, and it was a process. Originally, what I was going to do was review all 6 of these movies in one video, but then I quickly realized that it was going to be a very long video, and nobody would watch it. So I decided, for the sake of time and this video, I'm going to be reviewing the first Transformers movie, and then over the course of the next few weeks, I'll be reviewing the rest of the movies. Now, people say this is the type of movie that you're just supposed to turn your brain off to and have fun with. And while I do think there's a place for movies like that, there's one issue. These movies aren't fun. Almost all of these films are loaded with mindless action, boring military plot, racism, and sexual objectification.
Amazing. A booby trap that actually catches boobies.
And granted, this movie, comparatively speaking, is pretty light as far as racism and sexual objectification goes, but trust me, it gets bad. For the sake of the time in these videos, I'm going to try to condense down the plots as much as I possibly can, which should be pretty easy. Most of these movies don't have a plot. The movie opens up with a monologue by the one and only Optimus Prime, played by the OG voice actor Peter Cullen. Peter Cullen will always be the best Optimus Prime in my opinion, don't at me. We then get a scene in a military base where the military gets attacked by a Decepticon, and admittedly, I do like how kind of scary they made these first encounters with the Decepticons out to be. It should be. They're giant robots attacking you. We then get introduced to Sam Witwicky, played by actual cannibal Shia LaBeouf. We find out Sam's dad's helping him buy a car, and this is where Sam first encounters Bumblebee. And would you look at that, he's even in his classic Beetle car mode. Oh no. Look, I love this Camaro. It's one of my favorite looking cars, but this just isn't the look for Bumblebee, at least in my opinion. This is a complaint that you're going to hear me talk about over the next few movies, not specifically about Bumblebee, but about really all the Transformers, so buckle up. We find out that the military is getting a bunch of groups together to find out what exactly attacked them. I'm going to be honest, I'm going to skip through most of the military stuff in these movies. It really slows down the plot, and not in a good way. Call me crazy, but I would like a Transformers movie that's more based around the Transformers rather than the military. Sam goes to a party that some of the kids that he goes to school with are at, and this is totally how teenagers talk.
Hey, how about you let me drive?
Oh, no. This is not a toy. These 22s, I don't want you grinding them. No. Why doesn't my little bunny just hop in the back seat?
Oh, God, I can't even tell you how much I'm not your little bunny.
Sam ditches his friend to give Megan Fox's character, Michaela, a ride home. We literally never see this guy again. I'm just gonna assume he got stuck up in that tree and just never came back down. Rest in peace, dude. Did he have a name? Sam thinks his car gets stolen and chases after it, but then realizes his car's actually a giant robot. Sam gets arrested and doesn't get his car back, which he seems to be okay with, which is reasonable. His car's a giant robot. We're back with the military, but this time in the desert. The military group gets attacked by Scorponok, and I do like that they treat it kinda horrifically.
Left cheek! Left cheek! Left cheek!
Great dialogue in this scene as well. Bumblebee returns home to Sam, but Sam just isn't having it because, well, why would he? Here we meet Barricade. And this scene's actually pretty cool. But why does he look like that? What's wrong with his face? This is a trend that will be more and more prevalent as these films continue. For some reason, they decided to stray away from the G1 looking characters and more towards a horrifically disgusting thing to look at. I'm totally okay if these characters don't look like the G1 characters, but they're fucking horrific. Bumblebee swoops in to save the day, and why does he look like that? What's wrong with his face? We find out that Bumblebee can't talk, or rather, he can only talk through the radio.
So you talk through the radio?
Actually, you're beautiful. You're wonderful. You're wonderful.
Bummer, he's kind of a main character. Hopefully this is something that gets solved by the end of the film. We're about an hour into the movie now, and we finally get the arrival of the Autobots. You know, for a 2-hour Transformers movie, I would expect the Transformers to appear for more than half of it. We meet Jazz, Ironhide, Ratchet, and of course...
My name is Optimus Prime.
Shit's so cool, though. I mean, oh my god, look at that. Oh, it looks so good. Oh, I wish I liked this movie.
His vocal processes were damaged in battle. I'm still working on them.
Shouldn't take too long to fix that, though, right? Right? We find out that the glasses that Sam inherited from his grandfather actually have the map on the Allspark imprinted on it. I don't really know how this works, but let's blow past it, okay? And so the hunt for Sam's glasses begin. We get to see more of Sam's home life, and...
You're ruining my youth, okay?
For Pete's sakes, you are so defensive. Were you masturbating?
Fuck this movie. Here we get introduced to Sector 7 and Agent Simmons, played by John Turturro. What the hell are you doing here, man? Look, I'm gonna be honest, Simmons is one of the most unbearable characters in these films, and he's in them a lot. Which is a shame, because John Turturro can be a pretty good actor. He's just given a bad script. We find out that Sector 7 knows about the Transformers and Sam, and they attempt to take Sam in for questioning. We also find out that Michaela has a small criminal record, and...
She's a criminal. Criminals are hot.
Alright, I'm gonna start moving through this movie rather quickly now because, well, frankly, I'm tired. Sector 7 takes Bumblebee, and the Autobots go find him. We finally see Megatron, and why does he look like that? Bumblebee grabs the Allspark, and this should fix his voice, right? Shouldn't Starscream be pissed that Megatron's alive? Like, that's kind of his whole character, is that he wants to overthrow Megatron.
My time will come, Megatron. Never. Never!
I swear, when they wrote these movies, they just scrolled through Wikipedia and were like, that's a good name, we'll use that one. The humans and the Autobots escape with the Allspark, and the Decepticons chase after them, and this movie has no right to look as good as it does. This movie came out in 2007, and the CGI looks better than some of the movies that are coming out to this date. In fact, the CGI in this movie looks better than some of the Transformers movies that come out after it. How? How is that possible? This is where things kind of start to get a little muddled. It's a lot of explosions and running, so try to follow along with me. Starscream attacks and Bumblebee loses his legs. Megatron kills Jazz, and come on, how are you gonna kill Jazz like that? Sure, he wasn't as cool as G1 Jazz, but he had potential.
Ow! Thanks!
Sam gets the Allspark and Megatron chases after him, and again, this is done pretty well. They do a good job at making this feel pretty scary, and it should be scary. Megatron should be terrifying, and I feel like that's something they kind of lose sight of in the following film. Sam gets blown off of a building, and Prime catches him. Prime pleads for Sam to kill him because he realizes that there's still 5 of these movies that we have to get through. And finally, Sam kills Megatron, and I don't know, I've always been a little thrown off by this, even as a kid. It just doesn't feel like Sam should be the one to kill Megatron. It should be Optimus Prime, right? Or Bumblebee, or Starscream. I don't know. But that's the ending they went with, and you know what? It could have been a worse ending. Prime holds Jazz's dead body, and...
I wish to stay with the boy.
Sweet, Bumblebee can talk now. Great. But, like, how? They never explain this, and it doesn't matter in the next movie anyways, but how is he able to talk now? Prime monologues while Sam and Michaela make out on top of Bumblebee, and I always thought this was weird. Again, even as a kid, I was like, that's... Bumblebee's sentient, right? Like, he's aware of this. It's kind of gross. It's like if you had a pet turtle and you decided to make out on top of it. Granted, it's like a big pet turtle. You get what I'm saying. And there you go. That's the first Transformers movie. First of 6. Final thoughts. This isn't an offensive movie to watch. In fact, it's quite entertaining in some places. The military aspect really does slow things down, and again, not in a good way. No, I don't want mindless action. That's boring to me. What I would like is a Transformers movie that maybe revolves more around the Transformers rather than the boring human characters based around them. I would also like better designed Transformers rather than these horrific monsters. I would like to have a Transformers film that's maybe a little bit more reminiscent of G1 or some of the older cartoons, or even based off of one of the comics that have come out. Something a little campy, but you can still take seriously. Ultimately, again, the Transformers is a silly concept made to sell toys, but I do think there is room for a good movie based around this concept. I think it's possible. It's been done. But we'll get to that. There's just 4 more movies standing in the way of us getting to it. That being said, this movie isn't horrible. The CGI looks great, especially for 2007. If memory serves, this was actually pretty groundbreaking for the time. The sound design's also pretty good when it's not overbearing, and most of the voice acting is on point. Let's make sure I'm still recording. Okay. Overall, it's a good enough movie that lays the groundwork for a potentially promising and great series of movies. Nothing could go wrong, right? Well, tune in the next couple of weeks when I review Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen. Did you guys see this movie? Did you like it? Seriously, let me know. I've always been kind of split on this movie. I still don't really know how I feel about it. If you liked this video and you want to see more, feel free to subscribe, leave a like if you liked it. I'm Matt Henderson. Thank you.